It's like Jelly Roll always says, like, you can't be fat and smell bad. You got to pick one. I saw in one publication somebody referred to me as the former lead singer of the Marcus King Band. And I was like, oh. My girlfriend at the time had left, and she went to Indonesia. What's up, Indonesia?
How'd you know this album was finished?
We ran out of money.
Yo, beautiful human. Marcus King is in the studio.
Yo, welcome back.
Darling Blue, brand new album. First album you do with your band in 7 years, correct?
Yeah, man.
Why now, brother?
Wow, it was just timing, dude. It was like, 2018 we did that record, and then right after that I went and did El Dorado with Dan Auerbach, and Dan had like a really like locked in, dialed in system, you know. He had the remaining cats from the Memphis Boys, and the Memphis Boys played on Suspicious Minds with Elvis Presley, and they played on Son of a Preacher Man with Dusty Springfield. So like
Casual.
They know what they're doing, and Dan had that dialed in. I was like, okay, like that's how Dan wanted to play it. He's got his Phil Spector wall of sound, specificity.
I couldn't say this word yesterday. Specificity?
Yes.
But I know what you're talking about.
Yes,
You're specific.
Exactly. He's very specific. Anyway, I was like, well, I can't call it a Marcus King Band record, so then I made the pivot, and I did it as a solo album. And me and my drummer, you know, we were always kind of the glue of the band. We were kind of the Walter Brecker and Donald Fagen, you know, and everything else kind of built around us. So it kind of took a few years just with different people coming and going and figuring out some interdepartmental, you know, issues. That was also a factor. And also working with Dan for 2 records, and those being called solo records, and then getting the opportunity to work with Rick Rubin. And he really wanted me in a room with Chris Dave, who played with Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, and also Corey Henry, who obviously works for everybody. He's the man. So it was just kind of circumstantial, but it also was good for us to have 7 years to like really get to the strongest place we'd been, you know, personally and musically.
7 years is a lot of time. There's a lot of life lived in that amount of time. And you change and evolve as an artist, no?
I hope so.
Yeah, right? I mean, dude, just working with Rick Rubin for a day, you change and evolve as an artist. But to do it for an entire album, and the way you've done it, different.
It changes you. And that record, you know, I'm really thankful for that album. Like, it didn't do, I mean, I had no real hopes or ambitions for it commercially. It was really just a chance for me to speak my mind openly. And Rick really helped me delve into that. So just working with him was really therapeutic because it really got me to a place where I could be more vulnerable with my lyrics and, you know, let my guard down in a lot of ways. And he also introduced me to some of my best friends. And that's why I'm out in LA right now. I'm working with them at the Blue Note. And with this band we haven't named, but it's me and Chris Dave and Corey Henry and DJ Ginyard. Just smoking, dude. So like that, everything just like works that way in my life. There's always a through line. Like I wouldn't have this opportunity now if I hadn't met Rick, and I wouldn't have met Rick if I didn't do the Grand Ole Opry.
Real. And
Grand Ole Opry, like, you know, I'm just thankful for that, you know?
What do you learn about songwriting though and lyricism from him? Because dude, there's a level of honesty in this album. I mean, you're talking about your home. You're talking about a lot. You're also talking about the victims from that hurricane. Like you're covering many topics in one body of work, and there's honesty that is seeped through all of it.
Well, that's the biggest thing, man. Biggest takeaway from Rick was honesty. I remember bringing in some demos for Rick that were super, just like if I listened back to him now, man, like I would cringe. I would hide under this couch, you know, because I at that point had been in Nashville for like just long enough to have some bad habits, you know. I was writing for the audience. He told me, well, actually, I mean, he never told me this directly, but I heard it when I listened to his book after we worked together.
Do it for
like,
you.
Do it for yourself and not for the artist, or not for the audience. And that was a really foreign concept to me because if you grow up in a broken home with abandonment issues, you want thousands of people to give you, some kind of reciprocation of love every night. So you're doing it for them, for you. So once I got over that hurdle, I still haven't really, but Rick kind of put the idea in my mind as to where I need to get as far as what I'm creating. And with this record, Darling Blue, that was a similar thing. My producer, Eddie Spear, all we really talked about was like, he said, go read East of Eden and just start writing. So
that's what you did?
That was the game plan.
How did you tap in Eddie Spear, who's known for working with Sierra Farrell, Zach Bryan?
Yeah.
There's a real true country Americana sound
to
his biggest records.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you land on him?
Eddie is, he's one of my favorite collaborators, and we actually worked together in 2018. He was Dave Cobb's engineer at the time. Dave's always had a real good eye for the best and brightest. And Eddie Spear was our engineer, and he even kind of, managed one of the sessions that Dave couldn't attend when we were doing that record. So we were all really familiar with him, and we loved him. He's a great guy. He's so fun to work with.
Are you talking about Carolina Confessions?
Yeah, Carolina Confessions. Yeah. So Eddie worked on the last Marcus King Band record that we did. And
makes sense.
And like my former manager, who's just like, a real fucking ignoramus, to bring up an old term. He's just one of those guys that, like, he has ideas that are like, it's just so stupid it might work. And then you're like, no, man, this is just stupid. Why did I believe you? But I won't say his name or anything, but the only good thing he did for me was, and this shows you how dumb he is. I was like, man, I need to talk to a producer so we can get a record going. And this process also took 3 years to get the band together, because I had like these obligations to finish records.
That's right.
I had shit to do, and we were also touring in between, because after the pandemic, everything just opened right back up.
I mean, dude, you were touring while making an album and promoting one at the same time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the last record that I was here promoting, Mood Swings, like I was promoting that record release 1 week before the release. I remember being on the phone in the studio recording Darling Blue. So like that's how long I've been working on that record.
Wait, so how do you break down your brain then? Or is it just all one jumbled mess as it relates to projects that you're juggling at the same time?
Dude, I have a good system going on up there. I don't want to ask any questions, but there's somebody up there filing and putting things right where it needs to be. I think I'm super OCD, so I think that's probably part of it. It helps me compartmentalize the projects at hand. But
do you work better when you're juggling a Marcus King project and a Marcus King band project?
I think I do almost, because it's like, it's that stimulation for every different part of the brain, right? So like, doing like a more neo-soul jazz fusion project and a southern rock tribute project and my band is fun.
Can you break down the difference between something that is Marcus King and the Marcus King band?
Yeah, man. I mean, I want to say it delicately, because I don't want to compare myself to Neil Young willy-nilly, like, because he's really the blueprint for like what I think I want to do as an artist, which is make people a fan of you and your ability to taste make, your ability to deliver something to them that is unique and original, and they're going to enjoy it. But it doesn't necessarily have to sound like your previous work, but there's also still an element of yourself
in there.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
There's really, very few people have done it as well as Neil Young.
Absolutely.
Also, without Neil Young,
Linda Ronstadt.
That's
a good example.
Very real. Honky Tonk, do you care about the numbers at all? I mean, that is your fastest record to hit 1 million streams.
It's true. That is true. I mean, I never really had much interest in the numbers or the data, but I don't know. It's something I've become increasingly interested in, just as I became increasingly interested in, being involved in every element of my business, and like that's the advice like I give kids now, is like know what's going on, and you need to be in the driver's seat at all times. I worked under the assumption that I could be the artist and that everybody else was going to be as passionate about what they do as what I do, and it's just not the case. So you kind of got to, sit down with the promoters, sit down with the agents, sit down with the business managers, sit down with, every single part of, who works for you. But sorry, I forgot to answer the rest of your question back there. My old manager, he said, I want to introduce you to this country producer. He's really hot right now. He's working with Zach Bryan. And I was like, who's Zach Bryan? And he's like, oh, we're going to get a meeting. You guys are going to have coffee. And I was like, cool. Tell him to meet me at my diner. And we sat down. And I was like, is it a British guy? And he's like, no. He lives in Nashville. And I was like, okay. And then I go to coffee. And it was Eddie. It was my friend.
You knew him.
Who is British. And I was like, this guy doesn't even... Anyway, whatever.
By the way, that reconnection, whether you knew it was going to happen like that or not, like needed to happen.
Yeah.
Backtracking to you being involved in every part of your business, how does doing that put you more on a path to be like, or follow the blueprint of somebody like Neil Young? Because I can make the case that he too is pretty aware of he's aware of the quality at which you're streaming his music via DSPs.
Right.
He knows everything.
Yeah. And he's very hyper-fixed on all those elements.
The smallest stuff is what it's wild. It's beautiful, actually. His genius is in those nuance and details.
I think I first became really motivated to operate that way, like being on the road with Tyler Childers, and I saw the way that he operated. I was like, oh, he says no to the status quo, and he does things his own way, because a lot of management companies, it's kind of their, I don't know, I guess I would say it's kind of their modus operandi to sequester the artist, to isolate the artist. So they don't want the artist traveling with the band or the crew. They don't want, the unity that happens out there on the road. I would say that's their motivation, because it's a lot easier to manage one person than it is to manage a band and an artist and a crew. But the way that I like to do things, and I really learned this from Childers Camp, was like, we all sit and have like a town hall on the bus every night, and we're like, what could be going better? Everybody is the head of their department in which they run. So we've got a really good ecosystem out on the road, and I really attribute a lot of that to Tyler and seeing the way he ran his camp.
And you having a desire to like take control and like really wrap your arms around everything, does it make you a better artist?
I think so, man. I think it makes you a better human. Just understanding how to work with people, and really at the end of the night, you're leading, however many thousands of people or whatever it may be through some kind of a 2-hour journey together. So, being able to circumvent that, yeah.
Why do you think Honky Tonk Hell connected so well with people?
I mean, I think there's a sense of irony in it, because it's so over the top, like Honky Tonk, and it does tell the story of drinking, but like from a different perspective. So I think it was a unique perspective to have on, just getting tore out the frame at the Honky Tonk. I think people dug it for that reason, I hope. And, also it's just a good groove at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, you do talk about, on the song I think you meant, you talk about jumping off the wagon. I was wondering, like, is that something you fear or think about often when you're on the road?
I think about it every day.
Really?
I enjoy, like, that's the reason I don't drink anymore, is because I enjoy becoming completely separated, completely removed, disassociated, because I just don't want to feel anything. So it's just not good for me. There's something deep within me that's broken enough that I'm still working on, that feels like I don't deserve any of the things I have. So I'll immediately try to destroy them, because I shouldn't have this anyway. So I'm going to do them a favor and completely fuck it up. But I find that it's easier to keep those demons at bay if I'm not drinking. that being said, I encourage everybody else to kind of drink around me because it's fun. I was talking about this with Brittany, my manager, on the way here. Like, you know, after 2 or 3 drinks, everybody else has provided themselves that, or afforded themselves that social lubricant. So they let their walls down and I don't have to. I can just be me. But that's kind of the idea. Every night I say, like, if I jump off the wagon, Kansas City, would you catch my fall? You know, meaning like they would. If you fell off the wagon, they would love to drink with you. So couldn't be that bad, I guess.
Do you feel like sobriety has made you a better artist?
I mean, I'd say yes all around, probably. I mean, it's made me a much better businessman.
Totally. Yeah, you're aware and conscious of what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, that's important.
Also, how do you balance, at least when you have those demons, like
Temptations?
what you have going on is so rooted in your gift and who you are as a person and this natural talent that is clearly attached to the tone of your voice. Like, do you really genuinely believe you don't deserve what you have when the reality is, like, so much of what you do have was, I feel like you were born with a lot of it.
Man, I'm thankful for it. I feel like the things that made me feel undeserving are also, you know, the things that gave me the ability
To write a song.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's tough because it's one and the same, really.
What does it feel like to write an album to your home?
Well,
And how do you see your home?
I see my home as, you know, there's this place called Bald Rock right outside of Greenville on Highway 276. And it's just this overlook, and you can really just see, you know, just the vastness of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And, you know, it's just different, man. The way the wind sings through the trees there, it just whistles in my ear in a very melodic way. And I wanted this record to feel like home or remind people of their home. So, you know, not just mine, but I wanted it to make them feel at home, whatever home means to them. And for me, I've always found home really is kind of in an individual, you know. Like my wife makes me feel at home, or my dog, like having them with me.
Carry Me Home starts this entire process? That was the first song you wrote?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What about that record sets the tone? And did you know what you were going to write about for the album previous to starting that song?
Man, not really. I didn't really have a game plan. But like I said, you know, the process was so long. Like, I started writing Carry Me Home on the piano out here when I was recording Mood Swings. So, like, that song was kind of clanking around in my head, that progression, and me and Briely were writing together, and we had these lyrics going around about, you know, Appalachia and just kind of fooling around with it. And then I didn't revisit it for like a year or two at the piano at home. And I couldn't write it really until like after I listened to the audiobook of East of Eden. And I just really liked the way that Steinbeck describes, you know, an area, how vividly he paints a description. So I wanted to try and do that, but with Carolina.
Was that the big takeaway that Eddie wanted you to listen for or read for when you listened to East of Eden? Was it the vivid description? What was
I don't think he had a particular goal. I think he just, whatever I take away from that book would be beneficial to the process. And he's got a real keen sense for that kind of thing.
Can we talk about Carolina Honey?
Yeah.
The Love of Your Life kicked you in the ass to get that song done, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that was a song that was pretty much just going to be like a really depressing folk song, you know? And it's one of my favorites because the context or the subject matter is dark and the groove is not. So, yeah, I wrote that song about her kind of taking the place of all these substances that I kind of used to feel better, but not wanting, you know, that's also something you got to work on because you don't want like a codependency.
Totally.
You don't want to be super dependent on somebody. So, you know, that song kind of talks about the night we met and stuff.
What was it like sharing it with her? And it was finally done.
Oh man, it was exciting. It was really fun to shoot the single cover art with her. I got to pour honey all over her. So it's a good afternoon.
Can you explain what love means for you today? Because love has in your life taken on many, many, many meanings. And I don't, what does it mean today?
Well, to me, love just means unconditionally, you know, and somebody that's going to, you know, put you first in their mind and consider you always. And that's what I found with my wife was like, you know, she's very real. And when she loves really hard. And I'm just lucky to really experience it.
You'd been in love before, right?
Oh, yeah.
How was it different?
Or I thought I had.
That,
you know?
right? You thought you were in love. I totally understand that.
Yeah, because people do things that like mimic what they think love is. It's like physical affection, whatever, you know. But you realize that they didn't really have an understanding of it, so they couldn't give it. And you got to find somebody that's so sure of themselves that they have the ability to love outwardly.
Easier said than done, right?
Fucking A.
Can we talk about Die Alone?
Yeah.
Does that genuinely represent the desire to peace out solo?
Peace out solo. It was such a, yeah. I mean, that was the game plan. Like I said, like I was not a good businessman. I had no good strategy. So I was like, I got my, you know, my options here, or, you know, crank up the Cadillac in the garage, or because my girlfriend at the time had left and she went to Indonesia. What's up, Indonesia? And she's like,
the idea of you touring in Indonesia is awesome in my head.
I mean, they're great folks. She went over there for some reason, I guess. So she split, and it was a really toxic, just like mess of a relationship. And like every relationship where you break up multiple times, there's always a last time. It's not like, and then we stopped doing that, you know.
And Indonesia was the last time.
Indonesia was it.
Yeah.
So, I was super depressed, and I was, you know, having these like 3-4 day benders with just all the dregs of Nashville society and like a lot of really fun people, and just like it was a real mess, you know. And I was not taking good care of myself, and you know, it was like towards the tail end of like that whole pandemic that we did, and you know, we were finally getting back on the road. So I was going on the road with Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. These were going to be the first shows back that were not like, there was still a degree of like, you know, separation and stuff, but it was like a full souled show in a, you know, amphitheater or whatever. So we went out, and my plan was just to go out and just do everything I wanted to do with no governor, you know, women, drugs, drinking, whatever I wanted to do, you know, that was the plan. And just to do it in excess to the point that it just completely shut my system down. Because I'd seen it happen before. I knew a club owner that just, you know, that's what he did. He just drank until he died, and he died in his office chair. And he was like a younger, like fit person, Alan. And I was like, yeah, that seems like a pretty good strategy. I'll just do what Alan did and just like check myself out of here. And like the second night of that run, I met Briely, and I just was like, maybe, you know.
You are telling a larger story in this album of like not only your home physically, but also what home is to you now, right?
Mm-hmm. What home makes me feel, because it is a feeling, you know.
And your current relationship is home.
I'd say so. I get really depressed when I'm not around her. You know, it's different than any relationship I've ever had, because, you know, I've always been like, it sounds terrible, but like every woman I've ever been with that's like overwhelmed me, like been very affectionate and been very like caring or like attentive. You know what I mean? Like somebody that tried to like pamper you in any kind of way. It always turned me off like immensely. I like somebody that's like, no, you need to get up and do some shit for yourself. Because I need that kind of tough love. The parts that are broken in me are not going to be fixed with any form of coddling.
Do you feel like you ever got tough love before?
No, I don't. I feel like everybody that came in tried to help me from a very honest and genuine place, but it was always too soft, and it always allowed me to get back off the rails. So this is the first woman that I'd ever been with that was like, hell no. Like, I mean, she gave me a nice smooch the first night we met. I mean, she couldn't resist my charms all the way. But, you know, she was like, hell no, I don't know where the hell that thing's been. You know, she's like, you need to go get checked out. And I was like, I will. And like before, so I went and I got checked out, and I was like, you guys call me and leave me a voicemail that says all is well. And they did that, and I sent her the voicemail. I was like, I'm good to go. And so I flew her out to LA actually. And like our third date, or like second or third date, was at Shangri-La.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah. And you know, it's pretty special.
Yeah, that's amazing. One of the most gorgeous recording studios to ever exist on planet Earth, on the beach.
Yeah, man. And she knew it. She was like, this is where Kim and Kanye lived for that season of whatever the fuck.
By the way, in that moment, like, don't you realize that she's the right one? Anybody who's like, that is the right response.
Yeah, exactly. She's super real. And she had like a real job. She was like a project supervisor at Bank of America.
That's a real gig.
I was like, whoa, that's so adult.
What do you do for a living?
I said, yeah. I was like, and she also didn't know who the hell I was, which was nice. You gotta love that.
That's incredible.
Because then I'm like, all right, I'm getting by on just my charms because my looks ain't getting me far. So you gotta be funny. You know, if you're gonna be ugly, you gotta be funny, and that's a rule of thumb.
True.
That's like Jelly Roll always says, like, you can't be fat and smell bad. You got to pick one. You can be fat and smell good. But he's not fat anymore. Jelly looks great.
He looks incredible.
It's insane. Veggie Roll.
You mentioned, what'd you call him?
Veggie Roll. That's what his crew's calling him.
Hi, Veggie Roll. We miss you.
Hey, Veg.
Can you explain the difference between Rick Rubin's studio and then recording this at Capricorn?
In Macon, Georgia, baby.
Yeah.
A little different. Where's the beach?
Well, here's the beach for sure. Macon is gorgeous, though, to me. And there's some people that might hear that and be like, what did he just say? It's special because they have this export there that's some kind of like protein, like high in protein, like mineral that they, you know, they have reservoirs there for. So the town is pretty rich in export. So everything downtown is like still mom and pop operated because they haven't had these major corporations come in and buy everything up. So like downtown, you might see a Dollar General adjacent to downtown. But that's what I really like about that community is the downtown is still operates like old school, you know, really good food, really good people, small town vibe. Everybody's cool, man. And, you know, obviously Otis Redding is from there and Little Richard. And Otis Redding and Phil Walden started Capricorn. It was originally called Red Wall, which was Otis Redding and Phil Walden. And when they developed Capricorn, and after Otis had passed, you know, they had Capricorn Studios, Capricorn Records, and it was operated right there in Macon, Georgia. And the Allman Brothers first came there and first performed together, I think in 1969, and Tom Dowd was there, and Tom Dowd, you know, he didn't really like the way the room sounded, so he took him down to Criteria in Miami. And in that time, you know, they eventually had Tom Dowd come and treat the room to his specifications. So he treated the room, and the A room just became this like sealed vault. The rest of the building, fell victim to years of just, weather and just like being an abandoned building. But the A room was so structurally sound and so well just adjusted and tuned, like, it's untouched. So it still has the smell of stale smoke in the air. It still has everything that we wanted it to be. And the rest of the place obviously went through hell and back. So when you walk in there, you could still feel the energy because it was like sealed in there. It was like a time capsule of vibration and energy, know?
Whoa.
So I wanted to be in there. I wanted to tap into whatever the fuck that feeling was. And that's what we did, man. And we really just tried to bottle it and harness it and distribute it.
You recorded it most of it live to tape?
Yeah, well, we're running through a tape machine into a Pro Tools session. But really, Eddie's got a whole bunch of outboard gear that's very impressive and sounds very good, and he's very concerned about the fidelity, which is not dissimilar to Rick Rubin. But Eddie brought all of his own gear down, and we just needed the room, Like if the
That's crazy. Like, you go to a recording studio, you don't use any of the gear there. You just need the space.
I just need the space, man. Like if I had that feeling about like the back of a van, like I would record there. It's all about the energy in the room.
Amazing.
So, the structure is what we needed, and the energy of the town and the vibes.
You can feel it on the album. You
I
really
feel
can.
like it. Yeah.
We talk about Here Today, written with Miss Lainey Wilson.
Yeah.
You love her.
We love her.
Yeah.
I think, you talked about her on our show last, right?
I think so.
Did I? Yeah.
Did you know you were working with her back then, a year ago?
Well, I knew her. I actually met Lainey like years ago when I first moved to Nashville. We got paired to write together, and we wrote some terrible song that I'm sure never saw the light of day. But the takeaway was that we got to meet each other, and her incredible personality and spirit was just, immediately I was, like everybody is, just taken with her. I was just like, we're fucking friends for life, And then she blew up, man, and I was like, oh, man, I wrote with this person one time, like she'll probably never remember me. And she got off an elevator at CMA Awards. I was there playing with Zach Brown, so this was like 2021. And she came off an elevator, and she was like, Marcus King, how the hell you doing, man? And like gave me this great big hug, and like all of her big security guards are like, who the hell is this guy? And I'll never forget that, man. Like we wrote together one time, and I guess I had as much impact on her as she did on me. And we got back together to write on one of Lainey's like very rare days at home. She spends more days on the road than anybody.
It's crazy.
And my friend Meg McCree, and it was just a super comfortable session. We just we got together, and Lainey's like, man, I got this idea. Like, here today, man, gone tomorrow. And I was like, that's great. Let's go. So we started writing. I thought we were writing for her record because it was so good. And then, they were nice enough to let me cut it.
Wow.
Yep.
So it really just starts with that one title. How do you build it collectively from there?
Well, then you start messing around with some chords, You're like, here today, gone tomorrow. Like, that's strong enough, so let's work backwards. Like, I feel like that's how we can, close out the chorus. We can either start it and close it, or we can just, that's going to be the payoff is here today, gone tomorrow. So what are we saying to get to that?
Yeah.
It's like, then you start kind of deconstructing, reverse engineering the chorus, and then you got to have a verse, So we start working on the verse, and then she's like, if you walked a mile in my alligator boots. And I was like, why don't we say crocodile? Because then you have an internal rhyme, like if you walked a mile in my crocodile boots. And it's just kind of pleasant to the ear to have that internal rhyme, which is, not structurally integral to the rhyming scheme, but it is nice when you can do it. So yeah, that's kind of how we build.
And it keeps the integrity of this story that she's trying to tell intact with the line. So
Yeah, and it's also good too to any writers that are listening. Like when I put together a room, like I'm always trying to get, like I'm really obsessed with like every angle of writing, and like I'll try to bring somebody in who's really great with melody. I'll bring somebody in who's really, good with like chords, and me myself, like I'm really over analytic about every lyric, which is why I'm like, we should say crocodile instead of alligator. I'm really dialed in on like every word, but I need somebody to have a broader, spec in the room with me, like,
what a beautiful thing to realize exactly what you do in a room well and how you need to fill the rest of the room to get exactly what you need.
Yeah.
It takes time to realize that.
It is interesting though, like you do all these co-writes, and then like for years and years it was like, co-writes, you gotta do co-writes, you gotta do this and that. It's like George Strait, greatest troubadour, Dean Dillon wrote all of his hits, and you kind of get sold this bill of goods. It's like, you gotta do co-writes, and then you go out and like your first interview is like, so Marcus, do you write all of your own songs? And you're like, well, everybody told me I should do co-writes, so I do a lot of those now. But the songs that I've written, my favorite ones are always, the ones write by myself. But
even if you're writing in a co-write, that's still your song.
You're still writing it. It's still your idea. But I'm just fucking around.
So how many of these songs on this album did you write alone?
Probably like half of it, I guess.
Oh wow. So do you just lock yourself in a room to do it?
I have to, man.
Wow.
I have my notes app on my phone, and I just start writing down stuff, like, usually like on airplanes or whenever something jumps in there, man, I'm like, I got to get this out. And a lot of them are probably not great, but,
you got to get it out anyway.
I just love writing too. Like I write stuff. I'll write about anything, man. Me and my keyboard player write about serial killers a lot. We wrote a song about Ed Kemper, the co-ed killer.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's called Hey Mama. It's super dark if you know the subject matter, but very fun. I like really fun songs that sound like happy and have totally different meanings.
When did you realize you could write songs from other people's perspectives like that and not just your own life?
Man, that's a fairly recent thing, I think it took me the ability to truly write from my perspective in an honest way before I could, start, just having fun with it.
Well, you did mention the piano earlier, and like you are a guitar guy. Like, why do you write on the piano instead of the guitar at certain times?
I like to write on the piano because it gives me a governor. There's a place that I can't reach beyond, and there's a real effort in my writing to make it still attainable, to make it accessible to people, because once you start getting, too thought-provoking, in the muso sense of it, it'll turn a lot of people off. And if you have any interest in some form of mass appeal, it's better to keep things more attainable, maybe a little more accessible, easier to digest. And the piano is good for me on that because my ability is more limited than with the guitar. So
interesting. So like actually where you're the weakest is where you can make music that applies to the most people.
Yeah. Like my producer, he comes in and he's like, he works with these like TikTok artists that are like not good at their instruments and like the shit's selling. And he's like, I think like, we should play our instruments like we're kindergartners, so it doesn't sound too, thought out. I'm like, okay.
He's not wrong.
And you just like clang and bang on this acoustic. But it's a really interesting approach because I've always described it like, and this has been a long journey of that. It's like, you remember in The Incredibles? Now this is a really, upper echelon, like, I'm about to be like, I'm going to sound like a scholar for this reference, but, so if it goes over anybody's heads, sorry about that. But you remember Dash, the runner.
In The Incredibles, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like at the end of it, like he's running, but they don't want people to know he has superpowers. So they're like, wait, no, slow down just a little bit.
Of course, he's doing the race.
Slow down. That's kind of how it is with music. Like you try to become proficient at your craft, and then people are like, I don't know about that. That seems a little like niche. Like, only real music people are going to like that. And they're like, slow down. And you try to become the best at what you do. And then it goes over people's heads and you're like, oh, damn it.
That's accurate.
Yeah, but not to say that I'm like proficient. Like I'm trying to grow every day. But yeah, when I'm writing, sometimes I do like to get on the piano because I'm not proficient at that by any stretch. I just have, a basic understanding, and it allows me to write from that perspective better.
You still microdosing?
Yeah, dude. I'm actually today I'm gonna start
Holy shit.
a journey. Yeah,
Wait, that's amazing.
it's great.
Mazel tov. Congratulations.
Yeah, dude.
Safe passage, my friend.
Thanks, man.
How often have you done it? How many times have you tried it before?
A few times in my life, I've made stints with it. Right now, the goal is I have some time off, and I'm going to wean myself off antidepressants, and try to just, factor in the microdosing schedule, so I can get off of all pharmaceuticals.
Rock and roll, brother.
That's the plan.
I have a lot of friends who have done it.
Yeah,
I have friends who every day would put a little tiny capsule in a smoothie, and that's all they needed.
yeah,
It changed their lives, and they had severe PTSD. They had gone through a lot of stuff.
yeah. I'm excited.
Can you feel it physically or mentally or both?
It's like a strong cup of espresso. It kind of makes me lock in, and it took away my panic attacks to a large degree. It took away the feeling of hopelessness within those panic attacks. Now, for whatever reason, there's an understanding in me that's like, it's gonna pass. It sucks right now, but it really did help me tremendously.
It's an amazing thing.
It is.
By the way, difference between a hero dose, a normal dose, and a micro dose, right? And
Yeah.
the micro,
Oh yeah.
God, safe journey. People used to consider you the black sheep of Nashville. Is that, do you feel that still? Is that a compliment or an insult?
I take it as a compliment. Like, I'll never forget, like, this was probably 2 or 3 years ago, somebody who worked with like someone really reputable was like, oh man, well, he's so excited to come work with you because you're like one of the cool kids in Nashville. And I was like, am I? I'm one of the cool kids? I've never been accused of that in my life. I think Nashville is a high school cafeteria, man. And you got all these different tables. And just like I did in high school, man, I sit with everybody. Like, I sat with everybody that smoked weed, if I'm being honest. And the nerds smoked weed. The football jocks smoked a lot of weed. The freaks obviously smoked weed. So I like to sit with a little bit of everybody. Everybody had something interesting to say. And I've carried that into my approach musically. And I think Nashville, I think they like me for that. I'm not trying to come for anybody's gig because I'm just going to do me.
It's the right way to be.
Yeah.
How'd you know this album was finished?
We ran out of money.
Fair.
So that's what happened initially. And I got to give props to Eddie, our producer, because the album wasn't finished and, we had to go record more stuff. And I tell this story all the time, but like a record label is like simultaneously like, we need you to go in and cut more stuff. We don't have any more budget for that. So they kind of hit you with both of these things. The whole structure of a record label is becoming antiquated and hopefully phasing out in some degree, because just go to fucking Wells Fargo and get a loan if you just need the money, man. Like, don't deal with these pompous assholes who think their job is important and they have 6 people doing one goddamn job, Love my label, though. And, they're like, we need you to write more songs. Like, get in there and, well, no, they don't say it like that. What they do is you send them 12 songs that you put your blood, sweat, and tears in, and they're like, oh, man, these are so great. Like, we, also, while we have you, could we set up some more writing dates we want to set up some writing dates out here in LA and get you out here and work with some people, which means like we don't like anything we heard. We want you to write more, and then we'll pick that apart. So, you know, like we were shooting the cover art for this record, and we hadn't even recorded Heartlands yet because I had just written it like a couple days before with Jonathan Singleton. So we went from Maggie Valley, North Carolina, back to Nashville, and we got in the studio. Or, no, we had just cut it, but we hadn't gotten the mix back yet. That's what it was. And that ended up becoming my favorite song on the record. It became our highest streaming single off the record. So it is funny. You know, they pushed me that way, and then we ended up getting one of our...
wanted.
You know, yeah. But, yeah.
Heartlands is your favorite song off the record?
Well, my favorite song is actually The Shadows, because Paul Franklin and Billy Contreras.
And Noah Cyrus.
Yeah, Noah Cyrus.
God, this is a beautiful song. And the
Thanks.
lyrics are insane.
Thank you.
Like, did you write that collectively? Did you write that alone?
Yeah, I actually wrote that out here in L.A. It was one of the writing trips they sent me on. I wrote that with Matty Yanofsky and Nick Monson.
And did you ever meet Noah in person or just send her the record?
Yeah, I met her after she sang. I met her one time. I met her at Stagecoach with the Midland guys. And I met her, and she was very sweet, and she's obviously just a powerhouse vocalist.
Crazy.
Yeah, so good. And we recorded the song, and then I was like, I think Noah would add a really great texture to this. So we sent it to her, and she sang on it, and she was very excited about it. And she was texting me about the song, and, you know, we communicated that way. And then we were at a Stand Up to Cancer benefit, and she was there, and we hung out. Got to talk about it.
Did you let her know that it's your favorite song off the album?
I am right now.
You got to listen to it. Darling Blues, the entire album. It's waiting for you on Amazon Music. Thanks for hanging out today, man.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Are you kidding? I really enjoy every second with you. You are always invited back. Genuinely.
Thanks.
You're fucking awesome.
Thanks, man.
Final thoughts?
Is there any music that you listen to that people would be surprised by?
Me and Briely love Meg Thee Stallion and Glorilla, Cardi B.
Really?
I think people are surprised by that sometimes.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I love honest music. I love people who are good at what they do, and, you know, yeah, that's good shit.
You are included in that. Thank you for supplying honest music, quality
Thanks, man.
records.
Oh, Stagecoach.
Great art. Oh my God, you're performing at Stagecoach. We're going to put a link below to grab tickets. I'm going. I got to see you.
Come on.
Yeah. So are you going to be with the band, or is it just you? How are you setting
the
this up?
band? Yeah, we're doing it that way from here out. Yeah.
Let's go. Marcus King and the Marcus King Band going to be at Stagecoach.
Yeah. I never want to see. I saw in one publication somebody referred to me as the former lead singer of the Marcus King Band. I was like, oh, that's a weird thing to read. Yeah, so Stagecoach, man, it's going to be great.
Well, can you explain the importance of Stagecoach, just like even as a mechanism to connect with other artists in the genre?
I mean, festivals are great because it's the best way for us to all get together, you know, because even people I live in the same town as, like, we're all so busy.
Totally.
It's easier for us to meet up out on the road.
Are you going and watching people's sets, or are you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got to look at the lineup, but I was there last year, and my boy Brent Cobb was playing, and he just threw it the fuck down, and, you know, I always love to go around, and it just gets me amped for the show, makes me want to do something.
Stagecoach. We'll be there. It's hitting the desert in May. Link below if you want to grab tickets. Marcus King, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Darling Blue is the new album. Please listen to it. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Woo.
Thank you.